Okay, welcome everybody to a class on Leibniz. I wanted to include Leibniz. I know I am adding this lesson right at after I've already done a lot of other philosophers who are later, but I wanted to include Leibniz. I'm glad to say that his monadology is very, very short, and so it's quite easy to become acquainted with Leibniz's ideas, because it won't take long. Yeah, it's only 12 pages here. It's 90 paragraphs, and that's what these numbers are referring to. So if you want to see for yourself what Leibniz says about some of these ideas, you can just go to his monadology. It's very easy to download as a free PDF, very easy, and you can find the number and see what you think, see what your interpretation is of his words. But I do recommend reading it all first, of course, so that you can get a good idea of the general idea of what he's saying. So Leibniz, let me start by saying that he's a rationalist and a monist and an idealist. In fact, he's sometimes been called a panpsychic idealist. Now, what does that mean? So a rationalist, I'll remind you, is somebody who believes that we can obtain knowledge of the world simply through a priori reasoning, simply through logical deductions. We can gain valuable knowledge about the world. And other rationalists include Descartes and Spinoza. Okay, they also agreed that we could get valuable knowledge about the world simply by using our deductive reasoning powers. It's the opposite of the empiricists who said, no, we can only get a posteriori knowledge about the world. And actually, there is no such thing as a priori knowledge. All of our knowledge comes from experience, so it's a posteriori. Okay, but Leibniz was a rationalist. He was also a mathematician. Yeah, he came up with the idea of calculus, and I think he invented a mechanical calculator at a very, very early stage. Obviously, he was a genius. He beat Newton to it with calculus, and there was a big argument. Newton wasn't happy about that. He said that Leibniz, he accused Leibniz of plagiarism, and it really got quite ugly and nasty. But we still use Leibniz's notation in mathematics, and so I think the mathematicians agree that Leibniz did get there first, or did certainly come up with the idea on his own independently. And so he was a great mathematician, and perhaps that's at least partially explains in what sense he's a rationalist. Yeah, because I think mathematicians, you could understand why they might claim that a priori knowledge is possible, and that it's more reliable than this a posteriori knowledge. Okay, and that of course we can come up with reliable knowledge about the world with these mathematical ideas, and so with just deductive reasoning. Okay, and he's a monist, so he disagreed with Descartes, and this brings him actually closer to Spinoza sometimes, but I don't want to say he's similar to Spinoza, because especially the way they think about God is totally different. Okay, but a monist believes there's only one type of stuff in the universe. Remember, Descartes believed in extended stuff, substance, and also in thinking stuff. Yeah, res cogitans and res extensa, I think, in Latin. But for Leibniz, extended stuff, substance, is not real. And I wanted to kick off with that idea. I wanted to start with that idea just because it's quite hard to understand what he means by a monad if you are thinking about an atom, because that's not what Leibniz is thinking about, although there are some similarities, as we'll see. But extended stuff, atoms are usually thought of as extended. Extended stuff is always an aggregate of parts, a multiplicity, yeah, a composite. It is infinitely divisible. Now, this brings us on to modern ideas of the atom, because what you'll notice is we do split the atom. Yeah, it creates a large explosion sometimes, but we do split the atom. Our atom is infinitely divisible, it seems to me, because they divide the electron, they can split even the elementary particles into sub elementary particles. And this is what Leibniz is saying. He's saying, well, extended stuff is always a multiplicity. It's always infinitely divisible. And he points out that the ancients knew this. Yeah, the ancient Greek philosophers pointed this out a long time ago, that anything extended can be divided again and again and again and again. So it's infinitely divisible. So Leibniz says only a unity which is indivisible has any being or reality. And I think this is quite similar to the Platonic ideas that the only real things that